Hey guys, welcome to the Backyard Vlog. Today is Friday, May the 3rd, 2019, and it has been a very eventful day. I've had a couple of different things to shoot today. One of them was extremely long, and the other was a sporting event here. But for the first event, just watch this. Hi guys, I got up this morning early, took the dog out and got a phone call from my editor, and he wanted to know if I would be able to scoot out to Sarah in Saraland and photograph the recovery of the young lady's car or vehicle from the boat ramp here right off of the end of Reuben in Saraland. So I've been down here since about 8:30. It's 12:30 now, and I got some footage, some video, and some stills. Just want to let you know that she's been missing since July of last year, and they found the vehicle by accident last night. I think they were doing diving drills for the police department, and one of the officers' boats had a sonar device on it, and that's when they came across the car. They confirmed it, marked it, confirmed it, and at daybreak this morning they came out here to recover it, and that's what we've been doing this morning. But at this point, at 12:30, I know they've got the vehicle out of the water. They haven't brought it up the street yet. They did allow a few of us to go down to the ramp to photograph the flotilla, putting the bags under the vehicle, floating the bags to the surface. And however, when the vehicle started to get close to the ramp, they asked us to step back beyond the line, so just in case she was in the vehicle, that there was no disrespectful photos or images of the young lady if she was still in the vehicle, so which is fine. But as of right now, we haven't seen, the media has not seen the vehicle, and I'm sitting here kind of cooling off in the air conditioner of the car until they move the fire department truck that's blocking the road and the view. Once they move that, then I know they're about ready to bring it out, and I'll go out there and
roll run.
Yeah, coming to provide you guys an update from our last update earlier this morning around 9 o'clock. We have finally been able to recover the vehicle from the bayou. The vehicle appears to be the vehicle that Daniela went missing in, a blue Chevy Cruze with a pearl molded tag. There is a body inside the vehicle. Cannot confirm for you at this time whether or not that happens to be Daniela B.N.
Can you describe the transition of how the vehicle was found?
Actually, I was talking with Sergeant Gibbs. He's one of our department divers. He was out doing some training exercises and testing his boat in this area, and actually trying to do a marking this area to make sure that he was able to provide it for the Saraland locals dive team, so they know about the drop-off and things like that. That's something they commonly do to mark boat ramps. He noticed something unusual. He marked it, and he scheduled an opportunity for himself and the Saraland diving team to come back out here to just dive the site because it looked unusual to him. So when he came back and he did his second dive, he brought some additional equipment that helped him identify that that was a vehicle. He notified Saraland Police Department that potentially they could have a stolen vehicle in the bayou, and so as a result of that, when he came back out and dived the second time, he realized really quick it was a Chevy Cruze. He also realized really quick that it had the pearl molded tag on it. Understanding his role as a sergeant with the Mobile Police Department, he contacted our homicide unit that was working this case, and so they confirmed the tag, they confirmed the vehicle for him, and so that's how we happened upon it. It was surely by a training exercise that he was putting together.
How much time had passed since he first marked that?
Approximately a week from the date that he actually marked.
A lot has happened since we heard from you earlier this morning down there. We haven't really been able to see a lot of it. What have been the challenges in getting this car? Is it safe to say the car is now on dry land? You say you recovered the car.
It's safe to say that the car is on dry land at this time. Some of the challenges, again, of course, was trying to raise a vehicle from the bottom of the creek bed to the top, making sure we did it in such a way that we preserve as much of the evidence as we possibly can. And so there were challenges, but I think, again, because of the collaborative effort that took place between the dive teams and the different experts about moving things and preserving scenes, I think we did a good job.
Is there any initial evidence to suggest how the car ended up down there? Was it pushed? Did somebody drive it down there? Anything to that?
At this point, I can't say that there's any evidence that suggests that. Obviously, there are some other things that we'll be doing. We'll canvass this area for cameras and things of that nature there. Those are things that we typically do in any type of a crime scene. So this was not an area that we were looking for initially when we looked for Daniela. And so certainly there will be some things that we'll be doing to try to follow up that as part of our investigation.
Any possibility at this time that the person who was found in the car remains, that person drove themselves into the water?
Again, that would be sheerly speculative on my part, so I wouldn't want to speculate.
All right, now as you can see, this story, this young lady has been missing since July of 2018. They discovered last week the automobile, and today they, well, actually yesterday, the police diver went back down and with his gear. He saw it on radar or sonar last week. The day he came back with his gear, went in the water, saw the tag on the back of it, recognized it as being the vehicle of the missing young woman from 2018, and we spent the day there watching them recover this vehicle. And yes, unfortunately there was a female body inside of the vehicle. They won't confirm whether it was her or not until they get some type of positive ID through DNA or fingerprints or dental records or whatever, but they're going to be working on that. But anyhow, I started that at 8 a.m., finished up around 2 o'clock, came home 8, and then turned around and went to the Faith Academy soccer game. It was a playoff round, and here's what happened there. Alright, so it's been a busy day. PhotO'Dell was busy. We did both of these for the call news. But now I'm going to get a little more in detail with what happened prior to me photographing the scene, the car recovery scene. When I got there, all the media that was there already, and more came later, but all the media, some of them have been there since 4 and 6 a.m. I got there a little after 8. The street had been blocked off with access to the ramp, but they were all congregated in one little group at this little field, open field, and on the edge of the street. And the police cruiser was parked up here and had 2 police officers there. and they were keeping people from going in or out that wasn't necessary to the scene. And anyone who did go in or out had to sign in and sign out, which is normal procedure for any of these crime scenes. They want to keep track of who's entering and who's coming and going. Well, anyhow, a few minutes after some of the extra media got there, some more TV media got there, and I had my Nikon with the long Tamron 7200 lens and was shooting with it. Well, I wasn't really shooting with it. I was actually kind of looking down the street to see what was happening because there was no clear shot of anything. Fire truck had parked in front of crossways on the road, so you couldn't see past that, and there was a narrow little gap where you could see the blue lights on the boat, but you couldn't see anything else. And with the lens, even as far back as we were with that long lens, I still couldn't see any details. Well, one of the police officers decided to come over, and he told me that I should be more respectful. Well, actually, what he said was, please don't take any photos with that long lens. I know you're trying to get shots down there that you can't see with the normal camera. And he said, so, you know, I thought, okay, I told him, look, I haven't taken any photos. You want to see, I can let you see it. He goes, no, I just want you to be more respectful of the family. Well, that was the spur he threw inside my shoe that got me riled up. I said, look, you know, I am very respectful of the dead and the living. If there's something that's not going to be respectful, I'm not going to shoot it. And if I do happen to get it by accident, it will not be sent to my editor. It will not be made public. As a matter of fact, most of the time I delete it. So I got a little heated with him, and he and I discussed the Second Amendment as far as freedom of press, and you know, that was pretty much it. He said, well, just try to be more aware, because I know you got a long lens on here. And I pointed to the TV cameras, and I said, you do realize those are digital zooms. They can zoom it twice, even 3 times as much as I have on this lens. So I can't do what they're capable of, but you're going to come to me and tell me not to shoot that. But if you want, again, you can look on my screen captures or my captures and see if there's anything that you find disrespectful. And he still didn't want to look. So we finished that old discussion. And about 15 minutes later, another media crew shows up, 3 people, or 2 people, and they walk down to that same officer who was signing people in and signing people out of the scene. And I recognized one of them with the still camera hanging around his neck as the photographer for the Lanyard newspaper in downtown Mobile. Well, he signed the clipboard and just proceeded to walk on down the street toward the crime scene. Oh man, that was bad. So I walked back over there and I had a discussion with him, and then I went and got my phone and called my editor, Tommy Hicks, and explained to him what was going on, that I was being held out of the press pool. Now, what they had done is they allowed one videographer from a TV station to go down there and videotape everything, and then they would come back and share it with the other news stations. But you can't do that. You can't rely on another newspaper, which the Lanyard and the Call News are like oil and water. They don't really get along that well. Can't share those stills like you can with news stations, TV stations. So when I saw them go down there, I called my editor and told him what was going on. That got the ball rolling. Well, after a few phone calls, the PIO, the public information officer, comes walking up the street, and he motions for me and Emmett to come on over there. We were there for the Call News, and he said, okay, you guys go ahead and sign in and I'll take you on down there. So apparently word got in from phone calls that we were being left out and the Lanyard was being allowed in, and that just wasn't going to fly on our end. So I signed in. I took the clipboard from the officer, the same officer that I've been having this issue with, you know, for being disrespectful, and I signed in. He seemed to think, because I had a 70 to 200 millimeter lens on my camera, that I could see further and I was being disrespectful. But the respectful part of this was when they were actually maneuvering the vehicle out of the water with the bags, the flotation bags. And to give you a little backstory, the divers went down, they put 4 flotation bags on this thing and they inflated them. 3 of them inflated, the 4th one partially inflated. So they didn't get the lift they wanted to on the front driver's side of the car. And so they went ahead and they used the boat to pull it over to the side and tried to aim it up, and they had a cable hooked up to it with a truck, you saw, and they tried to winch it up. Well, apparently because that front end was lower, it hit bottom and nosed the vehicle down. And then so they backed off. They were going to go get a bigger truck. They thought that the winch just couldn't take it. So they backed the boat, pulled the vehicle back out to deeper water. They moved that truck. And while they were waiting on the big truck to come, the big flatbed, the officers in the boat pulled around and allowed the vehicle to float into deeper water, and they took a different angle, a more aggressive angle toward the boat ramp. And suddenly, while they had it out there, the divers went back down and they fixed the valve on that additional float, and it inflated, and then they took it around and brought it in on a more aggressive angle toward the ramp, and all of a sudden the antenna of the vehicle popped up. Well, it's just, you seen the car, it's just a little blue car. And as soon as they did that, they stopped and they said, okay, you guys have got to go. Talking to the media, myself and the other TV media people down there. Now the reason for that is because they didn't know at that time if there was a body or a person inside that vehicle. Now when something's been submerged for a long period of time, organic, human, animals, it becomes bloated and will float. And if it's inside a vehicle, it's going to float to the top of that vehicle. So when that vehicle starts getting closer and the water recedes, then the body or the person inside the vehicle may actually be on top of that water and be visible through the windshield, dashboard, whatever. So they didn't want to take that chance, and I didn't want to photograph that anyhow. I would not have. So they moved us out of the area, and after we had left, they went ahead and brought the vehicle up, drained it, and then they came down and had a press conference, which you saw, and then of course they took care of the deceased body in an ambulance, and a few minutes later they brought the car up on the back of the flatbed. But it was a little frustrating as part of the media to get treated like we did, and a lot of the media, Mr. Barber, Chief Batiste, all these, they know me, they know the call news, and they recognize us. So why this officer decided that one newspaper got favoritism over another is baffling. I have no clue why that would have had any part of this equation, because you've got to make sure that everybody has equal opportunity to, in the press, to cover the story the same. So, but anyhow, like I said, we did that, and then we went to Faith Academy and shot their soccer game. And then tomorrow we got to do the Heritage Day, weather permitting, in downtown and down at Sims at the Heritage Park. But anyhow, that's it for today's vlog. I appreciate you guys stopping by and seeing it. I'm sorry it was such somber coverage today. And again, thank you guys for keeping up on the vlog. We appreciate it. If you want to, you can subscribe. Make sure you click on that little bell so you'll get the notification that a new video has been uploaded. And you know, as always, open chair, open invitation. You guys stop by anytime. Let me know. We will sit down. We'll talk. But until then, if I don't see you on the sidelines or on the street, always, always, always make wise choices. All right, guys. Y'all take care. My hat stinks. I may have to wash it tonight.